an illustrious visionary known for his driven nature, given the title of Optimus Princeps. His reign was the example that all emperors who followed wanted to imitate. Come with me as we explore the story of probably the best Roman emperor, Trajan, emperor of the Roman Empire. The early life of Trajan is not well known, but we have the most basic information. Trajan was born outside of Italy, in present-day Spain. He was born September 18th, 56 AD, as Marcus Ulpius Traianus. He was born the son of Marcus Ulpius Traianus the Elder and his wife, Marcia. His family was part of the equestrian class, which was synonymous with both the military and wealth. Even though details of his childhood are not known to us, we can assume that he lived a life of comfort and was given a formal education on all subjects like many young boys in his time. By 67 AD, he most likely moved to Rome with his mother and his sister, Oppia Marciana, as his father served as a legion commander in the Roman military. In the spring, he was posted in Judea to fight against the Jewish revolts. The sitting emperor at the time, Nero, had appointed Titus Fabius Vicipianus as general to stop the revolts after many failed attempts by previous leaders. Titus, also known as General Vespasian, was given 3 legions, and Taenarus, father of Trajan, was in charge of Legion X Vintetis, a legion that was based in Syria, an important region for the Roman Empire. This massive campaign force was able to take back the majority of the territory in Judea. Even with a successful military campaign in Judea, it was a different story back in Rome. Rebellions were rising all over Rome against Nero. Things quickly escalated, and on June 19, 68 AD, Nero ended his own life after being abandoned by all allies and pursued by enemies. Hearing the news, General Vespasian called a halt to the campaign, and he likely asked his commanders, such as Trajan's father, to stay low. The year that followed, 69 AD, was a chaotic time for Rome, usually called the Year of the Four Emperors. After the death of Nero, the Senate named Servius Galba, one of the governors involved with the death of Nero, as emperor. Failing to take hold of the military, Galba was unable to hold power and was killed by the forces of Marcus Otho. Otho was then declared emperor by the Senate. Otho made the mistake of ignoring the claim of Aulus Vitellius Germanicus, who was the general and governor of the Roman provinces. He was able to defeat Otho. Then Rome had their 3rd emperor of 69 AD. His excessive extravagance and inability to stabilize the country made it hard for him to gain support. Finally, towards the end, one man who had been standing aside, Vespasian, decided to throw his hat in the ring. Unlike the 3 before him, Vespasian got his supporters ahead of time. He made sure that he had the support of governors, such as Tiberius Julius Alexander, governor of Egypt. He also had the support of his commanders, such as Taenarus. He also had his heirs, his son Titus with him in the east, and his other son Domitian was keeping an eye on things back in Rome. Taenarus was in charge of operations back in Judea, and Vespasian now had the focus to try and become emperor. After a series of bloody battles, Vespasian's forces were able to capture and execute Vitellius, and Vespasian was able to take the throne on December 20th, 69 AD, officially starting the Flavian dynasty. For the act of helping the new emperor in the process of taking the throne, Taenarus was eventually given the titles of companion to the emperor, counsel in the Senate, and later on, governor of regions such as Cappadocia, and then the all-important Syria. By this point, Taenarus had taken his family out of the equestrian class into the even more powerful and wealthy senatorial class. By the year 75 AD, Trajan, now 21 years old, was supported by his father into a military and political career. Trajan entered the Roman army into one of the 3 legions in Syria, where his father was a governor by this point. He was given the title of Tribunus Laticlavius, which was a position given to young noble sons in the military. The Romans and the Parthians neighbors to the east were at peace, so Trajan was unable to show his skills on the battlefield in this period. He later moved on to serve in Germania Inferior, where he caught the tail end of Governor Rutilia's fight with the Germanic Brucellari tribe, who were fighting with Rome for their territory. After years of service as Tribunus Latoclavius, Trajan started the next phase of a natural political career for a young, upper-class Roman man, which was quaestorship, which was basically running for a type of public office. By 78 AD, Trajan had reached the age of marriage, and he needed to align himself with a family that would help his career. A marriage with Pulpina Parana was arranged by their families. By 79 AD, Trajan's family didn't need to look for more allies to help boost their power. Trajan's father, Tennerius, had been promoted to the rank of proconsul of Asia. This was a very senior position only given to the most highly regarded politicians. This province was very important to Rome and covered a third of modern-day Turkey. Here, they collected enormous tax revenue, and important land routes were also located here. Before Trajan could use his father's new position to move forward in his career, a series of major events happened. The sitting emperor, and Tennerius' most important supporter, Vespasian, died due to an illness on June 23, 79 AD. Soon after, his son and heir, Titus, took the throne with full support. 4 months into his reign, Mount Vesuvius erupted, killing 45,000 people in Campania. Soon after, a great fire raged over Rome for days, and even the famous Temple of Jupiter on Capitoline Hill was burned down. As if things couldn't get any worse, a plague epidemic hit Rome. After all these events, to raise morale, Titus had an opening for the newly built Colosseum. By the following year, Trajan turned 25, and he had to go on a long wait before he could run for an quaestorship position. By this point, his father had retired from the political scene, and Trajan had formed a close enough relationship to the new emperor Titus that he was able to get his direct recommendation for a new quaestorship position. Unfortunately, he was only able to hold on to this position for a year, not through any fault of his own, but because of a rule that he needed to take a 5-year pause before he could move on and continue his career. During this pause, another stunning event happened that rocked Rome. Titus, who had only been emperor for 2 years, died at the age of 41. He died due to natural causes. His brother, the previously overlooked Domitian, became the emperor of Rome on September 81 AD. At the end of his sabbatical in 81 AD, to move up in his senatorial career, he had to run for a praetorship position. Trajan spent his time as a praetor, first as a judge, having judicial authority only under the emperor and those who served in the Senate. After his term as a judge, he had the option to directly apply for a position in the Senate. Trajan didn't take this path and chose instead to continue his praetorship, but this time in the military. Domitian, seeing his hard work through his career so far, appointed him Legatus Legionis, basically a commander. He was in charge of Legion 7 Gemena Felix, located in Hispaniola, close to where he was born. During his time there, for a period of 2 years, he learned how to manage a Roman legion effectively. Even though he was in an important base in Hispaniola, he missed a lot of action back in Rome. The center of this action wasn't Rome itself, but a region to the north, near Rome's border at the Danube River. In 85 AD, the Dacian tribes, led by King Decebalus, attacked the Roman province of Moesia and managed to kill the governor of Moesia during their attack. In response, Domitian changed Moesia's defenses and split the province into two, Moesia Superior and Moesia Inferior. By 85 AD, he sent a new governor into the region, Titius Julianus, along with 3 legions. The new The new governor of Upper Moesia was supposed to lead a campaign to take over the Dacia region. In the spring of 88 AD, Julianus was only an inch away from defeating the tribes when something unexpected happened. The governor of Germania Superior, Lucius Antonius Sedenanus, rebelled along with 2 legions against Domitian. Domitian had to instruct the governor to pull back from the campaign at Danube River and put down the revolt in Germania. Domitian also called one of the legions he knew he could count on, Trajan's Legion 7. Before both Domitian and Trajan could get there, however, Germanian Inferior's governor managed to put down the rebellion. These series of events had the benefit of drawing Trajan even closer to the new emperor. On January 1st, 91 AD, the position of consuls ordinaire was given to Trajan. This was an important honor because there were only 2 prominent consul positions in the Senate, and the ones that were named at the start of the year had the honor of linking their name with that specific year. Another reason why this was such an honor was because Trajan had not even applied for a senator position yet, and was directly made a consul. Domitian most likely allowed this because of the history of loyalty that Trajan's family was known for and the actions of Trajan himself. After his term as consul, Trajan was appointed directly by the emperor to the province of Germania Superior, most likely because Domitian needed somebody trustworthy in that area. After this term, he became the governor of Pannonia, helping with the ongoing Pannonian Wars and leading around 5 legions there. Trajan was enjoying the favor of the current emperor, but unfortunately for Domitian, his time as emperor was up. Domitian had become increasingly cruel, committing many offenses that were starting to add up. He was known as a faithful follower of the Roman gods. He was so devoted, in fact, that he took it upon himself to punish his subjects on behalf of the gods, taking things as far as to bury alive Vestal virgins, priestesses of Vesta, who had broken their vows and taken lovers. Things became even more extreme when Domitian started to execute even senators based on the charge of atheism. This included members of even his own family. A plan was hatched by a group of senators to assassinate Domitian. They managed to succeed, and in September 18th, 96 AD, the Flavian dynasty, which had only seen the reign of 3 emperors, was officially over. The question was now, who would become emperor? Even before the planned assassination, the group of senators had in mind who they wanted to be emperor. The man they had chosen was Marcus Cassius Nerva. Nerva was already in his 60s by the time he became emperor in 96 AD. Trajan didn't learn of Domitian's death until October, and even then he was unable to do anything because he was still in the midst of the Third Pannonian War and couldn't leave his post to exact revenge. Considering the bigger picture, Trajan and his forces swore allegiance to Nerva and continued on with the war. Back in Rome, Nerva had the seat of emperor, but his lack of military background made it that he had to almost empty the treasury to win support and pacify the Praetorian Guard, the protection guard of the emperor, who were unhappy because they had just lost the candidate that they had picked for the emperor's seat, Domitian. He was also spending money coming up with initiatives to help the common people, such as the Child Welfare Act, Alimente. Even with these efforts, the position of the emperor was still fragile. Nerva was still in a weak position, and the only thing that could help him in this situation was an heir. After much deliberation and a demonstration by the Praetorian Guard that saw Domitian's assassins punished, and Nerva's authority in tatters, Nerva and his council finally chose a successor. The man was one with the credentials, military influence that Nerva lacked, and a decent family background. It was none other than Trajan. He had a vast set of experiences, from a commander in Syria to a governor in Germania, a judge during his time in Rome. Now he was a general serving in a crucial war with Pannonia. Most of all, he was young enough to put the people at ease with the increasingly aging emperor, the situation being so dire at that point that the empire was once more on the brink of civil war, probably one to rival the year of the 4 emperors. Trajan saw that there were very few more qualified than him and accepted the appointment. With this, Nerva was able to stabilize the situation, and Trajan could focus on ending the Third Pannonian War by completely suppressing the Pannonian tribes. After this, Nerva officially adopted Trajan as a son in order to make him an heir, and his name was changed to Marcus Ulpius Nerva Trajan to give him more authority as heir apparent. Trajan was given command over the governors and legion commanders in the province of Germania, both inferior and superior. By the time Nerva passed away on January 27th, 98 AD, due to fever that was too much for his already failing health, Trajan was ready to become emperor. Accepting the mantle of emperor from Germania, he took the title of Augustus that all Roman emperors received. His wife and sister, who served as faithful advisors all his career, were also offered the title of Augusta, but Trajan declined. His first act was to remove some power from the Praetorian Guard, who were by this point so powerful that they could even influence who was able to become emperor. The most prevalent example is what happened with Nerva while he was emperor. He added the new horse guard and removed the Praetorians' old perf. This made it a situation where he wasn't completely reliant on the Praetorian Guard for his protection. After this was done, Trajan did go back to Rome but decided to look at the area around Danube instead. This was most likely to plan for any future campaigns. Finally, after an 18-month absence from Rome since his appointment as emperor, he had to go back to Rome in the summer of 99 AD to finally greet the Senate. He entered Rome in a very modest style, leaving his horse to walk on foot and be greeted by the masses. The senators also gathered to welcome their new emperor. After this celebration with the people in the Senate, Trajan got down to what all new emperors do when they take the throne: give money to the soldiers, then the common people. Trajan was already a great general, so he didn't need to make up for a lack of military might by bribing everyone too much. He mostly focused his attention on public works. He carried on Nerva's Alimenta program that helped support children in poverty and invested money in building roads, bridges, harbors, and aqueducts, which improved the lives of the Roman citizens. He also provided aid to the Roman provinces in time of need, such as during Egypt's drought that happened during the first couple years of his reign. And with the reduction of taxes by Trajan not helping things, many senators wondered how the empire would be able to keep up with all these costs. Trajan answered them by proving that he was only setting up the atmosphere so that they could go back to what the Romans were known for: conquest. Trajan was about to declare war on the Dacian tribes. At this point in time, Rome was in a ceasefire with Dacia. In 89 AD, during the time of Domitian, Rome was forced to sign a treaty with Dacia that would give Dacia subsidies so that they could stay out of the way while Rome battled with the Pannonian tribes. King Decebalus took the subsidies and used them to build fortifications to defend against Rome. And worse, he was also taking in Roman runaway soldiers that were teaching the Dacia tribes Roman warfare. Trajan saw Dacia has a big problem. The resources that he could get to recover the treasury was only one of the reasons he asked the Senate to go to war against them and finish the job that Domitian couldn't. In 101 AD, Trajan officially began his campaign to conquer Dacia and bring them completely into submission. Trajan took a Roman invasion force to Mysia to prepare for the attack. His engineers built a bridge called Trajan's Bridge to cross the Danube River. Trajan then started a series of attacks into Dacian's mountain strongholds in the Carpathian Mountains. Trajan was able to succeed in these attacks and move deeper into their territory, and they even won a small victory in the Battle of Tebe. This defeat made King Decebalus seek an alliance with the nearby tribes, the Sarmatians, and also the Roxolani tribes. Trajan counterattacked with more forces and reached the heart of Dacia in their capital, Armazigatusha. Decebalus was overwhelmed and quickly decided to sue for peace. Trajan accepted, but Decebalus had to accept his terms of surrender, such as becoming a client state of Rome, dismantling his fortifications, and giving back the Roman deserters and engineers that they had taken in. The Dacians agreed, and there was seemingly peace between Rome and Dacia from there. But for Decebalus, this was only a deception. In the next few years after the war, he started to rebuild strongholds, accept Roman deserters, and seek alliances for another war with Rome. Trajan got news of him breaking and decided to start the Second Dacia War in 105 AD. Trajan took a group of 100,000 troops and attacked. This time Trajan used advanced battle tactics to quickly bypass Dacia's defenses. The war ended when Rome led a siege in Sarmazigatusha and cut off their water supply. The city was captured and looted, and the capital quickly collapsed. Their leader, King Decebalus, ended his own life before the Romans could capture him. The region was annexed and turned into a Roman province. Trajan was able to use the nation's resources to refill the treasury, and he also got rid of a powerful threat on Rome's northern border. This victory at the expense of a once powerful kingdom had raised Trajan's reputation even more in the eyes of the ancient world. After the war, Trajan got into the business of rewarding everyone. First, by having a 123-day celebration filled with spectacles and games. After, he gave more donations to the masses and soldiers. He finally gave the title of Augusta to his wife and sister to mark their support. When the celebration was done, he started his rule as an emperor of peaceful times, balancing his relationship with the Senate, fixing policies, and looking over how the territory filled with 20% of the world's population at that time was being managed. After a period of 7 years, Trajan was not satisfied with being a peacetime emperor. When one of Rome's rivals to the east, Parthia, decides to take control of the key region of Armenia, located between Rome and Parthia, Trajan saw it as an opportunity to conquer eastern territory. In 114 AD, Trajan invaded Armenia. The victory was swift, with the Roman army at the peak of their power. Armenia became a province of Rome. Trajan still wasn't content to stop there. He continued to go east. He went to Mesopotamia, and in 115 AD, he captured Nisibis and Singera. He managed to annex northern Mesopotamia and then set his sights on Babylonia. After capturing parts of Babylonia, he moved on and captured the capital of the Parthians, Ctesiphon. Before Trajan could move further or consolidate his power, the Keto War started. This war was the result of Cyrene, Egypt, Cyprus, and Mesopotamia starting to revolt. The new hold Trajan had on the east was being threatened. The Parthians started to counterattack in earnest, and Trajan still had the vast empire of Rome to keep obedient behind him. While trying to manage both, Trajan's health slowly started to decline. Trajan was unable to keep fighting the Parthian War before he could recover to finish his great endeavor. The great general emperor who lived for battle died in the year 117 AD in Salamis. The death of Trajan sent shockwaves around Rome, but he had certainly left his mark. The quote, "May he be luckier than Augustus and better than Trajan," that the Romans adopted for future emperors, has shown just how people remembered his legacy. Thank you for joining me as we explored the life story of one of the 5 good emperors, Trajan. Before you go, don't forget to check out another story about a ruler I think you'll find interesting, Hatshepsut. Just click here to view it. Thank you for your time, and see you next time as the lens takes us to China.